He never waged a single war. He never betrayed his wife. And somehow he became the most hated god in Western history. Hades. The name alone conjures fire, torment, and evil. But here is what no one tells you. In the original Greek texts, Hades never once tried to overthrow Zeus. He never tortured a soul. He was called just by the ancient poets and wealth giver by the people who actually worshipped him. So how did the most stable, most faithful god in the entire Greek pantheon become the devil? This is the story they never told you. You already know who Hades is, or at least you think you do. A sleazy, fast-talking schemer trying to overthrow Zeus. That is the Hades Disney gave you in 1997. James Woods played him like a used car salesman, and it worked so well that Hades became one of Disney's most iconic villains for over 25 years. Then Clash of the Titans made him a bitter, power-hungry traitor. God of War turned him into a boss fight. Percy Jackson cast him as a villain. Zero basis in Greek mythology, any of it. But it felt right, because by then, you already believed. The logic seemed obvious. He rules the dead, so he must cause death, so he must be evil. That is like calling a hospital administrator a serial killer because they work around death. In the oldest Greek sources, Homer, Hesiod, Hades never once tried to seize power, never tortured a soul, never started a war, not once. So if everything you know about this god came from a Disney movie and a bad sequel, what was Hades actually like? To understand how wrong this image is, we need to go back to the very beginning, to the moment the universe was divided. So who was Hades, really? After the war between the gods and the Titans, the three brothers drew lots. Zeus got the sky, Poseidon the sea, Hades the underworld. He didn't lose. It was a formal division among equals. Homer says this directly. His other name was Pluton, wealth giver. Everything beneath the earth, gold, silver, fertile soil, belonged to him. Not the god of torment, the god of abundance. Ancient sources call him stern and unpitying, but just. Of the three brothers, he was the least petty, the most honorable. The underworld was not hell. It had Elysium, paradise for heroes, the asphodel meadows for ordinary souls, and Tartarus for the wicked. Three judges decided fates, not Hades on a whim. Then there is Persephone. Zeus arranged that marriage. In Greek law, the father had authority, and what followed? The most stable relationship in Greek mythology. Zeus had dozens of affairs. Hades had at most two, both from late sources, not even Greek. Think about that for a moment. Orpheus begged for his dead wife. Hades was moved and gave him a chance. Sisyphus cheated death. Hades enforced justice. Hercules needed Cerberus. Hades negotiated fairly. Hades was the bureaucrat of death, not its architect. So if the original Hades was this fair, this just, who turned him into the devil? The answer begins with a single word, written on a scroll in Alexandria 2,300 years ago. Around 250 BC, scholars translated the Hebrew Bible into Greek. The Hebrew scriptures had a word for the land of the dead, Sheol, a quiet, neutral place, not punishment, not fire, simply the state of being dead. But the translators needed a Greek word for Sheol, and they chose Hades. In Sheol, the dead were gone, silent. In Hades, souls were alive, wandering, suffering, being judged. One translation turned dead people into living people. Then in 1611, the King James Bible took Sheol, Hades, and Gehenna, a burning valley south of Jerusalem, and translated all three as one word, hell. Sheol appears 65 times in the Hebrew Bible. The King James translated it as hell 31 times, grave 31 times, pit 3 times. 3 completely different words collapsed into one. Think about that for a moment. Then came the face. Pan, the half-goat god of shepherds. horns, hooves, a tail. In the 4th century, Eusebius of Caesarea officially connected Pan to Satan. But Satan's horns are never described in the Bible. That image came from a pagan god who played a flute in the woods. Hades ruled an underworld. The new faith declared any underworld evil, so he was cast as a devil, not for anything he did, for where he lived. And once Hades became interchangeable with Satan, there was one final force that made it permanent. And you have almost certainly seen it, but something is changing. In 2020, Supergiant Games released a game called Hades, 6 BAFTAs, over 1 million copies sold. And for the first time in modern media, Hades was not the villain. He was a father, flawed, stubborn, but not evil. The correction has begun. And here is what makes this bigger than one god. Hades is not alone. The Norse goddess Hel ruled her own realm of the dead. Her name became the English word hell. When the Spanish reached the Andes, they took Supe, the Inca god of the dead, and declared him the devil. The Percy Jackson Disney Plus series finally gave him a fair portrayal. Supergiant's game let a new generation meet the real Hades. The pattern is always the same. A god of the dead becomes a god of evil. Not because the original culture believed it, because someone else decided the underworld had to mean punishment. The real villain of this story was never a god. It was a mistranslation, and the centuries of assumptions built on top of it. Hades was the god of the dead, not the god of evil. He was given the hardest domain in the cosmos and governed it with more honor than either of his brothers ever showed. For 2,500 years, we got him wrong. And the next time someone calls Hades the devil, you will know the truth.